I spent $250,000 on my MBA. And here's the truth no one tells you. It's not the textbooks, not the lectures, not even the network. The real value, the part that actually changed how I think, how I lead, and how I build, is something no syllabus can capture. And today, I'm giving it to you. For free. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the core frameworks, mental models, and market truths that Harvard Business School drilled into me. The ones that still echo in my head every time I pitch, hire, invest, or decide not to. But before we get into it, let me ask you this. Are you building something, or just busy being busy? Because that's the first lie business school shattered for me. Thousands of founders in the US are grinding right now. Posting, optimizing, pitching, scaling. But they can't answer one simple question. What problem do you solve? For who? And why should they care? See, strategy isn't just a whiteboard exercise. It's survival. And if you don't know how to pick the right game, or the right position inside it, you're just noise. And noise doesn't scale. You're here because deep down, you know that hustle culture is broken. Because you've seen creators burn out. You've watched small businesses collapse, not from laziness, but from chasing too many things with no clear model. And maybe, you're starting to feel it, too. The truth is, you don't need to do more. You need to think clearer, act sharper, build with precision. This crash course isn't theory. It's war-tested, used by billion-dollar brands and one-person businesses alike. It's what Walmart uses to dominate on cost. What Warby Parker used to destroy a monopoly. What Netflix used to shape your habits without you even noticing. And it's what I used to launch a premium brand from nothing, in one of the most crowded markets on earth. This is your shortcut to the real stuff, the frameworks and decisions that actually drive outcomes. Not buzzwords, not fluff, just signal. So if you've ever thought, I want to start something, but I don't know how to stand out. I'm tired of guessing what my customers want. I wish someone would just show me how to think like a founder. You're in the right place. Let's skip the slides and cut to the receipts. This is everything I learned at Harvard Business School, distilled for the real world. For right now. For you. Ready? Let's begin with the first thing that separates winners from the rest. Strategy. Not as a buzzword, but as a weapon. Let me be blunt. Most entrepreneurs don't fail because of bad marketing. They fail because they never chose the right game to play in the first place. They launch fast. They hustle hard. But ask them, what's your strategy? And you'll hear fluff. Community. Premium content. Authentic brand. Nice words. But they're not strategy. Strategy is brutal clarity. It's about choosing where to compete, how to win, and why someone can't just copy you tomorrow. No gimmicks. No vibes. Just edge. And no framework exposes this better than what Harvard calls Porter's 5 forces. Forget the textbook version. This isn't theory, this is survival. It maps the invisible power lines shaping every market you'll ever enter. Let's break it down using a brand every American knows, Starbucks. Because Starbucks didn't win by selling the best coffee. They won by building the strongest behavioral moat in modern retail. Force 1, threat of new entrants. How hard is it for someone to do what you do? Most people think, I've got a great product, I'll be fine. But great products mean nothing if anyone can replicate them. Starbucks makes sure that's not possible. They've built a fortress. Prime real estate on every corner. A name that markets itself. An operational machine that no indie cafe can match. Could you open a local coffee shop? Sure. But could you lock in supply chain rates, develop an app, and negotiate leases on Main and Main? That's what separates products from platforms. Barriers to entry are what let you price with power and sleep at night. Force 2. Bargaining power of suppliers. Who's got the leverage? You or your vendors? If you're a small business, you already know, it's usually not you. But Starbucks, they flipped the script. They buy at such volume that they don't negotiate, they dictate. Farmers need Starbucks more than Starbucks needs any one farm. This is what Amazon does with fulfillment. What Apple does with chip makers. What Walmart does with entire categories. In modern business, scale becomes a weapon. If you don't have scale yet, then speed, niche control, or audience loyalty need to be your armor. Force 3. Bargaining power of buyers. How easily can your customer walk away? The Starbucks answer: they won't want to. Why? Because they've turned a simple transaction into a habit loop. You preload money into the app. You earn rewards, feel progress. You return. Again and again. Over time, you stop asking, "Where should I get coffee?" You just go. It's not just loyalty. It's lock-in. This is the same psychology behind Apple's ecosystem. Amazon Prime, your default grocery store. It's not that customers love your product. It's that they forget what life was like before it. The strongest brand doesn't just win hearts. It rewires behavior. Force 4. Threat of substitutes. If they don't buy from you, what else could they do? For Starbucks, the competition isn't just Dunkin'. It's making coffee at home, buying energy drinks, skipping caffeine altogether. So they evolved. They pushed into grocery store beans, cold brews at gas stations, instant sachets on Amazon, canned drinks at airports. This is called substitution preemption, killing the threat before it matures. You don't wait for the market to shift. You move first. If you're not actively making yourself the first choice everywhere your customer goes, you're quietly being replaced, one morning at a time. Force 5. Competitive rivalry. How intense is the battle for attention in your space? Coffee is crowded. Margins are tight. But Starbucks doesn't just sell caffeine, they sell space. They invented the third place. Not home, not work, somewhere in between. They sell you 17 minutes of comfort, a predictable environment, a brief pause in a chaotic day. That's not a $6 latte. That's an emotional reset. That's strategy. Because when you compete on experience, you don't enter price wars. You become priceless. What this means for you: you might not run a global chain. You might just be a solo founder with a Shopify store, a coaching offer, or a digital product. But the same forces are at work. If you're not building barriers to entry, behavioral lock-in, leverage over vendors, preemptive substitutes, a differentiated experience, then you're just hoping. And hope isn't strategy. Even a one-person business needs a moat. Because if your audience can forget you, they will. If your product can be copied, it will. And if your customer isn't locked in, they're already halfway gone. Final truth. Starbucks doesn't sell coffee. They sell identity, familiarity, and emotional convenience. They built a machine around predictable behavior, not perfect beans. And that's why they win. So if you're still trying to be the best, stop. Instead, ask, what system am I building that makes me hard to ignore, and even harder to leave? That's strategy. And if you don't pick your game with precision, someone else will choose it for you. Next up, you've seen what it takes to win the invisible war of competition. Now let's talk about something most founders still get dangerously wrong: how to target the right customer and make them feel like you built it just for them. Part 3. Marketing. Don't target everyone. Target who can't leave you. You don't need more reach. You need deeper resonance. The old playbook said, go broad. The new reality: go broad, go broke. In 2025, attention is fragmented. Loyalty is rare. And mass appeal is a trap. If you're trying to be for everyone, you're already for no one. Because today's customer doesn't want more options. They want clarity. They want to feel like you built something for them, and only them. So let me show you how the best companies in the world do it. Back in business school, they drilled a model into our heads: STP. Segmentation, targeting, positioning. Most people skip this. Or worse, they treat it like a slide in a deck. But done right, STP is a weapon. It helps you find your people, lock in their attention, and build something they can't imagine leaving. Let's break it down, Real world, no fluff. Start with segmentation. Most founders make the mistake of lumping everyone into one customer. My product is for people who care about health. That's not a segment. That's a vague wish. Real segmentation asks, who are the actual personas out there? What do they need? What do they believe? What frustrates them? Warby Parker nailed this. When they entered the eyewear market, they faced a near monopoly. Luxottica controlled everything. Ray-Ban, Oakley, even your favorite boutique brands, all under one roof. And glasses, they cost hundreds of dollars. Buying a decent pair meant sacrificing style or your budget, or both. Warby Parker looked closer. They found a hidden gap. A growing tribe of millennials who wanted stylish, affordable frames, hated the retail markup, and were comfortable shopping online. These weren't bargain hunters. They were value-aligned, digitally native, and sick of being ripped off. So Warby did something powerful. They didn't just market to that group. They built for them. Their entire model, from website to pricing to tone of voice, was designed for one specific segment. Not everyone, just the right ones. That's targeting. The T in STP. Not who you could serve, but who you choose to serve. And here's the hidden power in that decision. Once you pick your target, your entire brand gets clearer. Your copy, your pricing, your product features, everything starts aligning like magnets. You stop guessing. You stop chasing trends. You stop diluting your message. You start resonating. And resonance is how you win in the attention economy. Especially with Gen Z. This generation has grown up in a world saturated with ads, algorithms, and inauthenticity. They scroll past perfection. They crave alignment. And when something feels off, even slightly, they bounce. But when something hits, when they see a brand that reflects their values, their voice, their energy, they stay, they share, they buy. Miss that window, even once, and they're gone. Ghosted. You don't get a second chance at trust anymore. You either get it right, or get erased. That's why brands like Rothy's took off. Not because they had the best product in the world, but because they spoke directly to a customer who cared about sustainability, aesthetics, and substance. The recycled plastic bottles weren't just materials. They were a story, a signal, a shared belief. Same with Tom's. In its prime, it wasn't just a shoe brand. It was a movement. Buy one, give one. Simple, emotional, clear. People didn't wear Tom's because they were the best shoes. They wore them because they meant something. In 2025, meaning is magnetic. It replaces interruption. It breaks through the noise. Before we talk about what to say, let's get one thing straight. If your offer isn't built for someone specific, no messaging trick will save you. Positioning isn't lipstick. It's architecture. So let's talk about positioning, the P in STP. This is where it all comes together. Positioning is the story you tell your customer about who you are, who you're for, and why it matters. It's not your tagline. It's your truth. Warby Parker's positioning wasn't just affordable glasses. It was rebellion against a greedy industry. Rothy's wasn't just stylish flats. It was a smarter way to tread lightly on the planet. Even luxury brands use this. Everlane positioned itself on radical transparency. The price, the factory, the markup, it was all part of the positioning. And here's the secret most founders miss. Your positioning isn't about you. It's about the identity your customer wants to step into. You're not selling a product. You're selling a version of them they're proud to become. So the question becomes, who is your brand helping them become? Because if you don't know, they won't either. And if they don't know, they won't care. They'll scroll. They'll skip. They'll forget you. But when you nail it, when your targeting is tight, your segmentation is real, and your positioning is sharp, you don't chase customers. They chase you. That's the shift. From noise to narrative. From chasing clicks to cultivating belief. From generic growth to intentional loyalty. And the real kicker, when you go narrow, you actually go wide. Because nothing spreads faster than something that feels personal. People share what reflects them. That's the modern referral engine. Not gimmicks, not discounts, but identity alignment. So if you've been trying to scale and it's not landing, look again. Maybe the problem isn't your funnel. Maybe it's your focus. Maybe you're speaking to too many people and saying nothing loud enough for one. Go back. Resegment. Retarget. Reposition. You don't need millions of followers. You need 1,000 people who feel like you're speaking only to them. And here's the final truth. Your brand isn't what you post. It's what people say about you when you're not in the room. Positioning is what they repeat. Targeting is who repeats it. And segmentation is what makes it stick. Stop trying to be unforgettable to everyone. Start being irreplaceable to the right ones. You've dialed in your message. You've found your people. But here's the twist. What if they love your brand, but not your product? That's where most founders fall apart. Let's fix that. Next up, how to stop guessing and start building things people can't live without. You don't need to build the perfect product. You need to build the right one, and fast. That's the hard truth no one told you when you started. You thought building was the hard part. It's not. The hard part is figuring out what to build before you run out of time, cash, or attention. In this market, you don't get rewarded for having a beautiful roadmap. You get rewarded for making contact with reality, early and often. Because the truth is, anyone can build. Only those who learn faster than they burn survive. Let me explain. There's a myth in product development that great ideas come from brilliance, from vision, from founders who just know. But look around. That's not how the real winners build anymore. Netflix doesn't guess. They test. Every thumbnail, every feature, every sequence you see on their platform has been through dozens, sometimes hundreds, of A/B tests. They don't assume what you'll click. They watch what you do. Then they double down. When they were still mailing DVDs, Netflix noticed that people weren't just choosing movies based on genre or cast. They were reacting to images. So they tested thumbnails. And when they moved into streaming, they doubled down on it. Today, your Netflix homepage doesn't look like mine. Even if we watch the same shows, we see different faces, colors, moods, because they've learned which version pulls you in. It's not creativity, it's calibration. And that's the shift you need to make if you want to stay alive in 2025's builder economy. Whether you're a solopreneur selling digital products or a startup pushing SaaS, assumption is your biggest liability. You don't need confidence. You need data. You don't need polish. You need proof. The creators winning right now aren't building giant platforms overnight. They're launching offers in one weekend. They're testing pricing, packaging, and pain points on Instagram stories. They're using Typeform, Stripe, and email replies as their MVPs. They ship fast, talk to real customers, and refine relentlessly. You're not in the business of building a product. You're in the business of building signal, and signal only shows up when something is working in the wild. If you haven't put your idea in front of a stranger and gotten a yes with money attached, you're not validating, you're daydreaming. You don't need a launch plan. You need a response. Stop asking, what should I build? Start asking, what am I hearing, repeatedly, that people wish existed and are annoyed doesn't? It's not your vision that makes you a builder. It's your ability to listen without bias, to observe without attachment, and to ship without delay. Because here's the uncomfortable part. The longer you wait to launch, the more likely it is you're wrong. Every delay is a risk multiplier. Every overdesigned feature, every added detail, every final polish is time you're not learning. You don't get paid for effort. You get paid for traction, for transformation, for delivering something that makes people's lives easier, faster, simpler, or just more bearable. This is why the smartest builders think like scientists, not artists. They test, they measure, they iterate, and they do it with speed. Perfection is a trap. Shipping is a weapon. So if you've been stuck refining the offer, the UX, the logo, the backend, ask yourself this. Have you earned the right to optimize? If no one's used it, bought it, or told you it's painful not to have it, why are you still hiding in the lab? Real builders build in public. They embrace imperfect launches. They collect real feedback. Then they rebuild. And yes, it's messy. Yes, it's scary. But guess what? That's where the truth lives. The product you need to build isn't sitting in your mind. It's sitting in the unmet needs of the people you're meant to serve. Find that. Serve that. Fast. Because the most dangerous thing you can do this year is spend 6 months perfecting something no one wants. Coming up next, what happens when the product does work? How to use finance not just to track growth, but to fuel it. Let's talk numbers, leverage, and how to actually stay in the game once you start winning. You don't need to love spreadsheets. But if you don't understand the numbers, you're flying blind, and eventually, you will crash. Most creators and first-time founders avoid finance like it's toxic. They say, "I'm not a numbers person," as if that's a badge of honor. But here's the secret no one tells you. You don't need to be a CFO. You just need to think like one, because the minute you charge money for anything, you're running a business. And a business without financial clarity is a countdown clock with no display. So let's strip away the jargon and get clear on what actually matters. 5 things. That's it. 5 financial concepts that will either make you dangerous or defenseless in the real world. First, revenue versus profit. You'd be shocked how many people mix this up. Revenue is what comes in. Profit is what stays. That's it. If you run a Substack and you make $5,000 a month, that's revenue. But if you're spending $3,000 on editing, email tools, and ads, your profit is $2,000. Not 5. Not close. Never confuse cash flow with lifestyle freedom. That's why people with million-dollar launches can still feel broke. They're burning through margins without tracking what's left over. Revenue feels good. Profit tells the truth. Second, cash flow. Profit is an accounting metric. Cash flow is survival. Just because you made money last month doesn't mean it's in your account right now. Maybe Stripe hasn't paid out. Maybe you prepaid for inventory. Maybe you gave 30-day terms and haven't been paid yet. If profit is the scoreboard, cash flow is your oxygen tank. You don't die when the scoreboard drops. You die when the oxygen runs out. A ton of successful DTC brands went under because they were asset-rich and cash-poor. Great branding, full warehouses, no liquidity. Don't let that be you. Third, unit economics. This is the hidden killer. It answers the question, are you making money on every sale or losing money and scaling the loss? If your product costs $10 to make, $5 to ship, $2 in platform fees, and $8 in paid ads to acquire a customer, then your $20 price point is underwater. That's not a business. That's a slow death. You don't fix bad unit economics with volume. You fix them with strategy. Better pricing, lower CAC, bundling, subscriptions, retention. You cannot outmarket broken math. Fourth, forecast and runway. This is about visibility. If you keep running your business exactly the way it is now, how many months do you have left before the money runs out? That's your runway. And if you're not forecasting that monthly, or at least quarterly, you're setting yourself up to be blindsided. Let's say you're burning $5,000 a month and you've got $30,000 in the bank. That's 6 months of runway. Unless your revenue grows, or your burn drops, you've got half a year to fix the model or fold. Knowing that number gives you power. Ignoring it gives you anxiety. Fifth, valuation. This one sounds fancy, but it's just another way of saying, what's this business worth, and why? If you ever plan to raise money, sell, or even partner, you need to understand the logic behind how businesses get valued. A newsletter business with 1,000 loyal paying subscribers might be worth more than a 100K follower TikTok account that makes $0. Why? Because revenue is proof. Because churn matters. Because recurring income, not hype, builds value. In simple terms, most businesses are valued based on a multiple of earnings or revenue. But the multiple depends on the business model. A software company with sticky customers might get 10x revenue. A dropshipping store with low margins might get 1x, or nothing at all. Don't obsess over valuations. But don't be naive either. Know what makes your model valuable, and build toward that. Here's the truth. Finance isn't numbers. It's behavior. It's how you make decisions when things get hard. It's how you stay in the game when cash is tight, sales are soft, and pressure mounts. If you're a solo founder or creator, this is even more important. You don't have a finance team. You are the finance team. You don't need to model out 5-year projections. You just need to know what's coming in, what's going out, what's left over. How long can I survive like this? That's not math. That's awareness. Don't let Excel trauma keep you from building something real. The people who win don't win because they're the smartest. They win because they have the clearest picture of reality and they act on it fast. The more honest you are with your numbers, the faster you grow. Now that you understand the financial engine behind your business, it's time to ask a harder question. Why are you building it in the first place? In the final chapter, we're going to talk about freedom, ownership, and the hidden trap no one talks about until it's too late. Let's finish strong. If you're trying to stand out by doing what everyone else is doing, you've already lost. You don't win by being louder. You win by being clearer, sharper, deeper, by choosing one problem worth solving, and then solving it like no one else can. You don't need to build a billion-dollar empire, but you do need to build with precision. Because in this market, sloppy kills, confused brands fade, unclear offers get ignored. Most people are chasing followers, funding, or trends. But the ones who last, they pick their lane. They say, "This is who I serve. This is how I help. And this is why I'll never quit." That's the real secret. It's not size. It's focus. It's not speed. It's conviction. So stop chasing noise. Start choosing depth. Build something that matters, on purpose. Because in a world addicted to more, clarity is your unfair advantage.